Caitlin Clark is taking over the world?
Now that's crazy.
Roll the intro!
I'm Synger, and you're watching Dorm Room Sports. Bum, bum, ba-dum.
Can we just be honest with you guys for a second? We got a banger of an episode today for you guys. 6 things that we're going to talk about. Let's give you a little preview. Caitlin Clark, Women's March Madness, the NFL rule change, Stephon Diggs. We got a Let's Talk About a Game. We're talking about the NBA MVP race in competitiveness. And we got your guys' favorite, Ask DRSP. So let's get right in to Caitlin Clark and Women's March Madness. The LSU Tigers versus the Iowa Hawkeyes, women's basketball, a repeat of last year's national championship. And it was an electric game. 12.8 million viewers online and in person. That's an NCAA record, by the way. Women's basketball is proving that they're just as good as men's basketball in some aspects. And hopefully that'll translate from college basketball to the WNBA next year. But yeah, Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, it was an amazing game. Iowa did come up on top. And so what do you think? What do you think about next week's matchup, or this weekend's matchup, UConn versus Iowa?
You know, I have a professor related to Paige Becker, so
Nice.
Let's just go with UConn.
Yeah. I get you're not a basketball guy in all aspects, and I totally get that. But I think even for those of you that aren't basketball people or sports people, this is going to be a game worth watching. Because it's more than just sports. It's more than just basketball. These are 2 of the best female athletes on the entire planet, and Caitlin Clark from Iowa and Paige Beckers from UConn going head-to-head. And I think it's going to be one of those games that makes a lot of people realize, like, women's basketball, it's the real deal. And, yeah, Caitlin Clark, it's not just her popularity. I feel like sometimes her popularity kind of overshadows her skills. Do you see what I mean there? I mean, some people think, like, she's so popular. She
can back it up, though.
Yeah, that's very true.
Like, a lot of people get that popular and they kind of fall off, but she's still, from what I'm seeing, she's still doing everything she needs to be successful in the sport of basketball. So, I think she's handling herself well.
Yeah, I definitely see that. I mean, she's
you know, especially with all the NIL deal she has with Gatorade, State Farm, Nike, Quick Trip. She's basically rich and she's not graduated yet, so yeah, I would say she's doing pretty good. I don't see her getting very cocky about it either. So
yeah, I think she's just gonna take a step up in the next level. I mean, she's all over the planet right now. That's so much pressure on anybody, whether you're a athlete or not. I think even just watching the Oklahoma City Thunder game, she was mentioned just 5 times in that take. And yeah, it was awesome just to see her reach that audience.
If you guys are wondering what I'm looking at, my roommate Rowan just came in the room.
Oh, Rowan.
Do I get
First
cameo?
First cameo of Dorm Room Sports podcast.
What's up, Rowan?
Hey, audience. That is crazy.
I live with him.
That's crazy. Hey, you know what you need to do? I don't know if they told you this yet, but there's a crazy thing going around where if you smash the like button and hit subscribe, something good's going to happen. I don't know what it is, but
Yeah.
Thank you, Rowan.
Thanks for having me.
Yep. See ya, Rowan.
See ya.
Well, that was an awesome cameo from Rowan. Let's get back into female athletes, March Madness specifically. I just wanted to list some of the females that I've declared for the WNBA draft because I think the WNBA is going to take a huge step up with all these new athletes. Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Ricky Jackson, Camalia Cordorso, and Cameron Brink, along with Aaliyah Edwards, all declaring. That's an insane list of females next year. I saw a rumor that the NBA was talking about possibly a Stephen Clay versus Sabrina and Caitlin all-star game 3-point contest next year at the All-Star weekend. It's not official, but it was discussed. Would you want to see this? Kind of men versus women?
I mean, It'd be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
They're athletes, so.
Yeah. Yeah, if you guys didn't know, Steph versus Sabrina was an event at the All-Star Weekend this year. Steph beat Sabrina by, I think, 2 3-pointers, 2 or 3. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, I think if it was my prediction, I'd take Sabrina and Caitlin over Steph and Clay. Maybe a hot take, maybe not. Splash Brothers, maybe it's Splash Sisters. No, who knows?
Steph Curry don't miss.
Hey, you never know. It's also
He don't miss.
Clay Thompson. He's off the bench now, so
Miss. He doesn't even look at 90% of the shots he takes. He just
yeah,
makes them.
he's
so,
torching the league. He's 36 and still torching the league. That's absurd. But yeah, well, thanks for tuning in for our conversation regarding women's basketball. Let's get into the new NFL rule change.
What is it? The NFL changed kickoffs. How did they change kickoffs? They adapted a rule from the XFL last year. It's now UFL, XFL division. So basically, if you don't know, we'll show a video right here. The XFL kickoff is, they line up like 5 yards apart from each other, and they can't move until the ball's landed into the returner's hands. I believe that's how that works. It's supposed to help with safety
Yeah, so it's supposed to.
and allow more kick return touchdowns.
Yeah.
And from what I've seen around, from NFL, Fox posting it, and just other football sites, some players aren't happy with it. Other players are, because who wants a 275 pounds special teams player running full speed at you downfield
Yeah.
when that's the only time they get on the field? So I get that, but at the same time, I don't see how it's going to change much, because teams are just going to keep kicking it out of the back of the end zone.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. First off, the kickoff will take place from the same spot, the 35-yard line. There's now a landing zone between the end zone and the 20-yard line, where this must be returned if the ball goes within that area. There's now kind of a penalty if the ball goes out of the back of the end zone, out of bounds, or short of that area. So the NFL operations, they had a really good video. Let's show that video right now. So that video was really good. I just wanted to discuss why this change was made, because last year's kick return, the smallest percentage of kick returns ever at 22.1%. Just 22.1% of kickoffs were returned and not fair caught or anything. What does this mean for the sport of football now that number is going to obviously go up?
I mean, it's a 1-year probation type of thing, so it might actually be really cool. We don't know. So I guess we'll just hope for the best. But if not, they'll probably just go back to the normal kickoff and change something there. But we talked about this a few podcasts ago about, if the NFL would ever take up on some of this UFL rules or XFL rules, and they did.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think more rule changes are to come in the next couple of years. Maybe
I think a few kick returners are they're gonna go off with this rule this year, like Keyshawn Nixon or Cordell Patterson. I think we'll just have to see how it plays out.
Yeah.
You know, the UFL isn't even using that kickoff rule this year.
That's true. Yeah.
I think they just moved the kicker back.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, college isn't using it and high school isn't using it. So I think the NFL is just playing around with some things.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think there's two sides. It's going to make kickoffs way more exciting because, you know, more touchdowns are going to happen, more big hits are going to happen. But I've seen other things, like it's going to be too complicated. So I just wanted to invite you guys, comment down below how we're feeling about the new rule change, because I think it's exciting. I think the NFL is showing that they're willing to progress upwards in a linear position. I think, yeah, the NFL is showing that they're willing to make changes to be the best league possible. I think that's great.
Speaking of NFL, Stephon Diggs, new home in Houston. The Bills received a 2025 second-round draft pick, and the Texans received Stephon Diggs, the 189th pick, and a 2025 fifth-round pick. Who won? I don't know. You know, the Texans got a decent receiver. He's aging a little bit, but not too bad.
Mm-hmm.
He's still pretty new to the league. He had a good year last year. It's almost 1,200 yards. You know, it gives C.J. Stroud another weapon to throw to, and they made the playoffs last year. They didn't do that well versus Baltimore, but I feel like that's going to be a step up for Houston. It's going to help them out a lot more this year.
Yeah, for sure. I think.
Tweet.
Yeah. I was just going to say, I think the Texans won this trade, but not to the extent that most are saying. Most are like, Texans far and away, the Bills lost, undeniable. The Bills are building for the future, which is questionable with an aging quarterback like Josh Allen. But yeah, you were mentioning a tweet. What do you have to say?
The Peaky Pirate tweeted, "Does Josh Allen benefit from having a top-tier receiver? Yes. Is it essential to his success? No." And I feel like I kind of agree with that. You know, Josh Allen finds ways to win games. Well, not in the playoffs, but...
Yeah, here we go. Diggs responds with, "You sure?"
So, you know, I don't know what he kind of meant like that. Maybe he's been cocky. Maybe he got in a fight with Josh Allen, but Josh Allen and the Bills, they're going to be fine. Offensively, they can draft. There's receivers in the draft they can pick up. You know, there's still free agency out there. And, you know, I think the Bills' biggest problem is their defense after getting rid of all those people.
Yeah, they are picking at 28, also 60. They have a couple of picks in the 120s, and then a ton of late-round picks. So they have a plethora of options to go in the draft. Diggs' response is, and you sure, is questionable. Like, we haven't seen Josh Allen without that number one option in a very long time. And you know what they say, elite quarterbacks are elite without weapons. And we have no idea if Josh Allen is at that level or not. But yeah, the Bills have options, and so does Josh Allen.
They're going to have to beef up the O-line too in the draft because, you know, in order for Josh Allen to throw to anybody, he needs to be protected. So,
yeah, for sure.
You know, and the offense for Texans, you know, they got Mixon and Diggs. I think that they're going to be competing for an AFC title next year.
You think so?
If C.J. Stroud, you know, plays like he did last year and ups the ante a little bit, and their defense, you know, balls out, I think at least, you know, divisional again. But,
yeah,
you know, it's a group of some older guys, but mostly young guys who are hungry.
Yeah, I actually disagree. I don't think the Houston Texans are competing for an AFC title next year. The Ravens beefed up. The Chiefs are as good as ever. You know, they're going to be teams like the Steelers who are, you know, trying to have something to prove. There are teams like the Bengals, like the Dolphins. It's not going to be an easy road for the Texans by any means, but I think the Diggs brothers both being in Texas is awesome. But yeah, I don't think the Texans have any business declaring themselves a favorite for the AFC title by any means. But let's transition into let's talk about a game. It's time for my favorite segment, let's talk about a game. We're not doing a basketball game today. First, non-basketball. It's time for a UFL, let's talk about a game. Because what happened?
DC Defenders in the Alamo Dome versus the Brahmas, San Antonio.
Yep.
First game for Delahaye, aka Deestroying.
First team headlined by a kicker, by the way. That's crazy.
You know, the DC Defenders, they didn't play good football. I mean, their red zone offense, they couldn't score. They had to settle for field goals on not one, not two, but 4 occasions, you know, and with the other team scoring touchdowns and all the, point conversions, you can go for 3 points from the 10-yard line in the UFL. So
yeah, red zone offense.
You know,
is very
it's like 6 points plus another 3. That's 9 points if you execute well. And you know, field goals are just not going to win games in this league.
Yeah, I mean, it was electric. I think just with 13,000 people in attendance. A lot of people have been commenting on just a mediocre attendance, and I think it was awesome. Chase Gabers, quarterback for the San Antonio Brahmas. You may have heard of him, you may not. He looked extremely comfortable for the very first game of the season. His stats, 19 for 25 completions, 158 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 76 completion percentage, and a 155.5 passer rating. He looked very comfortable, very skilled. He really led that San Antonio offense with the help of Anthony McFarland.
Former 4th-round NFL draft pick.
Yep.
He was electric for the Brahmas offense with 78 all-purpose yards and a touchdown.
Yeah.
You know, and the DC Defenders, they forced 2 fumbles, but they just couldn't convert on offense. So I think that was, and San Antonio, their offense was on fire. You know, They struggled a little bit in the first quarter, but they got going. They got rolling pretty fast.
Even their special teams had an elite offensive play. Let's talk about the trick play. UFLboard.com says, with 0:14 on the clock, Delahaye was brought in to attempt a 58-yard field goal, and the defenders iced him with a timeout. Afterwards, the Brahmas changed their play, brought in punter Brad Wing, who faked a punt, passed deep to Alex Millette for a touchdown. It was electric. Let's play the clip right now.
Some kind of leg, and now look at this. They're going to motion here on 4th down and 11, and the punter, Brad Wing, takes the snap. He wants to throw. Brad Wing lofts it downfield, and it's caught to the goal line. Touchdown! It's the center, Alex Millette.
Whew. That was awesome. I think it was one of the highlight plays for the entire year. It was cool to see that. What do you think?
It was cool, but eventually I'm going to watch one of my favorite YouTubers growing up kick a 60-yard field goal.
Yeah. So Donald Delahaye, a.k.a. Deestroying, YouTuber turned kicker, or kicker turned YouTuber turned back to kicker. Looked very solid with his kickoff placements. Overall looked really well. But we didn't get to see him kick a field goal, unfortunately.
And he lined up at receiver once. That was cool to see.
Yeah, you guys saw that. I think that's all we have to talk about for Let's Talk About a Game, right?
Quick session today.
Yep. All right, so it's time to talk about the NBA MVP conversation. All right, what's up, guys? Post-recording, editing Logan here. Don't worry about this next clip. Foreheads got cut out. Camera fell.
They
right
got
before
cut
I
off.
recorded.
They cut off our foreheads.
Yeah, so Foreheads will be back in the next clip.
They
Don't
won't.
worry.
They stole them.
All right, real quick, being the basketball guy, NBA season is just now heating up. April, it's NBA time. It's a weird point in the NBA season. Everything's changing. The MVP, it's an important title in basketball especially. At the beginning of the year, it was a 6-man race. Shea, Luka, Jokic, Giannis, Tatum, Embiid. So now, post All-Star break, it transitioned to a 3-man race between Shea, Luka, and Jokic. Now it's a 2-man race. It's interesting. My favorite player in the entire league, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, He went down with a quad extrusion last Tuesday. That was reported. Not fun at all. He's missed 2 games, he's been in 2 games and missed 3 out of the last 5. In the 2 games that he was in, he got significantly less touches, averaged just over 20 points. For any other player, that'd be great, but for Shea, it's just below average. And for a player held to such a high standard, it's really going to tank his MVP voting. So now, Luka Doncic of the Dallas Mavericks and Nikola Jokic of the Denver Nuggets, the 2 main favorites. Shea's not out of the question yet, in my opinion. The race is just starting, really. We'll see how the playoff picture starts.
How his injury works.
Yeah. And, he's just been ruled out of the Oklahoma City's next game for us against the Houston Rockets. Do you think a team's struggle helps, like, an MVP candidate who may be out? Do you think it helps the case? Because OKC, they have not looked good in their last couple games when Shea's been out. Do you think that helps or hurts Shea's case?
I think it helps.
Yeah.
Because, if your team's struggling without you, that makes you look that much better.
Yeah. He's a leader, for sure.
That's not good for OKC, though.
Such a young team. And, record plays such an important role in MVP nowadays. You can be the best player in the entire league, but your team's a 10 seed, so you have no chance against a good player on a 1 seed. And, with OKC falling now down to the 3 seed in the West, it's crazy. And the West is as competitive as ever. I saw a tweet just showing how competitive the West was 10 years ago. I just wanted to pop that up. It just really shows how competitive the West was. And it kind of dipped down. We're finally getting to that point because the West is just as competitive as it's ever been. And OKC, Denver, and Minnesota being at the top of that really proved that. But that's all I have to say. Shea's dropping out of the MVP race, it seems like. Will he be back? What do you guys think? Drop a comment below. But that's all I have to say. Let's move to our final segment, Ask DRSP.
For the last segment of this podcast, we are going to do Ask Dorm Room Sports. So first question, worst NBA team? I have to go with the Pistons just because, they're 13-63. I'm pretty new to basketball, but that seems pretty rough for an 82-game season. So,
For sure.
They got to be doing something pretty bad.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys out there know this. The Detroit Pistons set an NBA record for the longest losing streak at 23 games, I believe. But they're not my worst team in the NBA because where the Pistons have young guys that could possibly, prove to have some potential. Even Malachi Flynn dropped 50 points. He was one of those random guys in April to drop 40, 50 points because that's what the NBA is all about. But my worst team is the Washington Wizards because I have no idea what's going on in that organization. Wes Unseld is a question mark at coach. Jordan Poole doesn't look like he knows what he's doing with the basketball in his hands. And despite not having the worst losing streak in the entire NBA history, the Washington Wizards are my 15 seed, even though they're not technically there. They are my worst team. Shout out to Kyle Kuzma saying at this point, it's just don't be that team. Pop up that tweet because that was ironic and hilarious at the time. So,
and then second question, what is your guys' favorite sport overall? And I know we're a football and basketball channel, but I'm a wrestling guy. I've been wrestling since 5th grade. I don't wrestle in college, but it's really fun. That's the sport I feel like I'm best at. So
yeah, for sure. I kind of went a similar direction because, big surprise to you guys maybe, I'm a bowler. I love bowling. I love the competition. But my favorite sport to follow is definitely basketball. So I could bowl every day, but if I had to choose one sport to follow for my entire life, it would be the NBA and basketball in general. But speaking of basketball, we got 2 final college basketball questions to end off the podcast. First, I just want to talk about this question. Are you surprised that Indiana State is in the NIT championship? Honestly, me, if you watched episode 3, I believe, I talked about my March Madness bracket. I talked about upsets. I said Indiana State should be in the bracket. I thought they could have been as high as a 13 seed, and for them to miss the bracket was insane to me. I was not surprised at all. I think they beat Seton Hall. That's my prediction. Yeah, not surprised at all that Indiana State is there. Were you at all? No? Yeah, so that's, kind of my opinion. I don't know how else to kind of communicate that because, it was kind of a given to me. And last, back to women's basketball, we mentioned LSU, we mentioned Angel Reese, but we did not mention Haley Van Lith, who, as of earlier today, entered the transfer portal from LSU. The question is, where do you think Haley Van Lith is transferring to? She came from Louisville last year, LSU this year, now going to her 3rd school in 3 years. It's interesting.
Caitlin Clark is leaving.
I do not think there's a world she joins Iowa. That would be crazy, though. I have a little bit of a theory. UConn, they're losing some guard depth to the WNBA draft. And Haley Van Lith and Paige Beckers in the backcourt would be absolutely insane. 2 insane playmakers that can do it all. UConn is my sleeper pick. I think that would be super entertaining. But I have really no idea. She could go to a sleeper of Ohio State if she wanted to play in some Big Ten schools.
Well,
kind of like Iowa. But
when in doubt, go to Wisconsin. It's always a great school.
Yeah.
Next time, more sports stuff.
Of course.
Stay cool. Stay in school. Don't do drugs, and Jesus loves you.
Thank you so much for watching. Roll the outro. Whew. Yeah, what's that?
You're good at basketball.
Yeah,
We gotta restart that. Fix it. Don't let it hang like that.